Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. It's the Manchester derby. Manchester United hosting Manchester City in the Premier League. Joining me is Finn, otherwise known as Academy Scoop. How are we doing?
Very good, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you? Are you really looking forward to it, though?
Yeah, I am.
You're not just saying that?
I'm feeling positive.
You feeling positive?
I always am, but yeah.
That's what I need. I need a bit of positivity. That'll get me sort of feeling confident like you are. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Listen, we know what a derby is all about. Bragging rights, yeah. Absolutely. The one who can go in work on a Monday with their chest out, who can walk through the city centre trying to find the odd City fan to gloat in front of. We've actually beaten Manchester City already this season at the Etihad, which doesn't always happen, but we did get a result there. Let's not forget as well, we won the FA Cup final at the back end of last season as well. So things in the last two games have been pretty good, and this is an opportunity for Ruben Amorim as well to sort of, or for United, sorry, to do the double over Manchester City for the first time, I think, in about 5 years. Yep. I mean, how important to you as a fan is it to beat Manchester City? I mean, this is kind of weird in the sense that in the league it almost doesn't matter beating us as a points. Like, yes, you know, we want as many points as possible, but it's not like this is going to make the difference between getting Champions League football or not. But in terms of what it means as a fan, it's obviously vitally important. Yeah,
I think this one is almost more about bragging rights than anything else because of where we are in the season. Even City are having a terrible season compared to their standards in the last few years. So I think this one will be a lot about who can say they've we can hopefully say that we've done the double. Ruben Amorim doing the triple. I fancy that for him this season over Pep Guardiola. So it's always going to be a huge occasion playing against City, one of our biggest rivals, and obviously the close City rivals. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I think the game compared to Forest, it suits us better, the way City play and the way we usually play against the stronger teams who like to have the ball and play high in our half. That suits us better. So yeah, it's always going to be a massive game.
Yeah, it is, you're right. And I don't want to be all cliched, but if anything, we've seen in the past this season or sort of last season as well, that sort of form does go out the window a little bit with these games, doesn't it? And you know, by rights, no one expected Manchester United to win the FA Cup final, and yet people are like, oh, I think you were hungover. Don't give me all that. No. United turned up, had a game plan that worked, and executed it to perfection. You go back to the game at the Etihad. Now, I hated the whole narrative that came with that on Sky or whatever. It was like, oh, it's just two rubbish teams playing against each other. I actually think if you went through both sets of teams on that day when we beat Manchester City, and each player, how many players on United's side actually had a good game compared to how many on City's side had a good game? And there was a lot of United players that turned up and did well, and there was barely any City players that did the same. So I don't quite buy into that idea. It was just a case of two crap teams. It was one team that turned up and one that didn't.
Yeah. And the approach was really good. Yeah. For once in that season, the approach was kind of spot on. Every player knew their role. They did their role well. You know, the young players stepped up, obviously Kobe and Garnacho scoring, and I don't think you can discredit United for that.
No, in that FA Cup final one, yeah, definitely. And then you go look at the Etihad one as well, where Ahmad, who obviously isn't available, played his part superbly. It's just phenomenal, wasn't it? It's so annoying that we haven't got Ahmad. Yeah. But hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. Look, Ruben Amorim versus Pep Guardiola, you mentioned it earlier there. I mean, this is an opportunity for an absolute rarity. A manager could beat Pep Guardiola for the third time in a season, which I don't even know if that's happened before. Someone can probably get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know. But he beat him at Sporting in the Champions League. He's beaten him at the Etihad, obviously as manager of Manchester United, and he could hopefully beat him again at Old Trafford.
Yeah. That'd be something to brag about, wouldn't it? I think he seems to have a really good understanding of how to get the better of Pep Guardiola's sides, especially with some of the weaknesses that can be exploited. You know, their physicality has been way off the mark. Again, you can criticise United for the exact same problem, but he definitely knows how to exploit those deficiencies. And obviously, we're without someone like Ahmad, who was so instrumental in the win at the Etihad. So it's going to be interesting to see if anyone else can step up into that role and play as significant a part in our performance. At the moment, you still kind of don't know where the goals are going to come from. But against Forest, there were more kind of positive signs, I think, especially in possession. Maybe you can put that down to a symptom of how Forest like to play. They like to give a lot of control to the opposition side. But yeah, it's an opportunity for something quite historic for a manager to beat Pep 3 times in a season. It doesn't happen a lot.
It doesn't. It'd be great if it happened for Ruben Amorim in his first season. I know, like I said earlier, one of those wins was at Sporting, but it would just be a little quirk where you can actually look at this, look at what he's done.
Just a bit more. He just needs more positivity behind him, something to kind of look forward to in the future, and something, a reason to be backing him and saying, well, let's give him time, because he's proven here and here and here that he's doing the right things. He knows how to go about it, and this is why we should back him long term, because I think there are still a lot of doubters in the fan base who aren't quite convinced yet. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. I think because we have such an up and down nature, and more down than up at the minute, it is difficult at times to remain completely convinced and positive, even though we are. I think a lot of fans are like, oh, come on, man. Every time we look like we're getting somewhere, we take these steps back, and we're getting, beaten off teams that we should be doing better against. And I understand that. I mean, Forest is a bit of an outlier because they're like third, whatever they are. But we've been beaten by a lot of teams who are sort of mid-table this season. It is difficult to stomach at times, but we know this is a long-term process. We understand that. We understand when Erik Ten Hag gets sacked. He didn't get sacked because the club and the team were doing wonderful or doing wonderfully well. He got sacked because obviously we were struggling. And you look at some of the signings we've made. I know last summer was a lot more positive, but in recent years there have been a lot of signings that haven't quite hit the heights that we hoped they would. And Ruben Amorim is trying to fix that. With all that being said, then we'll go into predicted 11s. We've got a few quotes that I'm going to go into as well. So we'll start with your predicted 11. Before, I go into that though. Actually, a little reminder: get your phones out, film yourself in landscape for 30 seconds, giving us your score prediction, and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, and we will use that as part of our pre-match build-up for the watch-along. You're here for the watch-along, aren't you?
Should be, yeah.
Yep, so you can get involved in that. Right, let's look at the predicted 11s then. Finn, this is yours. Now, you've got Onana, Yoro, Maguire and Mazraoui. So the first sort of name there that is obviously missing out is Matthijs de Ligt. Now, he spoke about de Ligt in his press conference, Ruben Amorim, and he said he's got a bit of I think he's got an issue, and he's going to be assessed. So we don't know yet,
for sure,
or at the time of recording this, as to how big an issue that is and whether he's going to be fair enough. You're sort of erring on the side of caution.
I think he will go with Maguire, because I don't think he's going to want to risk de Ligt, especially with the remaining games in the Europa League. I think he's going to want de Ligt available for those. So I don't think he'll want to take any risks. And it's not like, for me at least, Maguire is much of a downgrade. I think de Ligt has been really solid recently. You can't fault many of his recent performances, but I also really like what Maguire offers from that kind of centre back role that he's done so well in. I think Amorim said earlier in the season that Maguire is perfect for that role in the middle. I don't think I'd be surprised if he took the risk of starting de Ligt if he has got a knock. And then I think Yoro and Mazraoui kind of pick themselves.
Yeah, I understand all that. In terms of the midfield as well, I think that makes sense with Ugarte, Fernandes, obviously Dalot and Dorgu in the wing-back positions. The front three, you've gone with Rasmus Højlund, backed up by Garnacho and Xerxes. Garnacho's been a bit of a talking point. The manager addressed that again. He did it after the Forest game. He's done it before the City game. There's a bit of criticism for Alejandro maybe not doing as well in the final third as he should do, which the manager's sort of spoken about. But you feel like he'll still stick with this with him as well and give Højlund a start?
I think you have to. Despite the frustrations in his game, namely decision making in the final third, which is a big problem for him, he still offers a lot against someone like City, who's going to play high in your half and leave a lot of space in behind to capitalise on. That's Garnacho's game when he's playing well. Obviously, we haven't seen that consistently for a long time. It feels like his best days at United were early in his kind of breakthrough season and the early season after that. And he needs, I think there's definitely going to be a mental aspect of that in terms of confidence, and I think you can't really drop him from the side given who we're playing against. And kind of similar goes for Højlund in terms of what he represents against a high line, the threat in behind. And I think some of his recent performances have looked improved. He's broken that goal scoring drought, both for Denmark and for United. And Xerxes, I think, provides a nice kind of link, someone that can knit between the different phases of play. So that's the front three I'd go for, and I think, it's difficult because none of them are high on confidence at the moment, and none of them seem to be making the right decisions in the final third, which is exactly what Amorim keeps talking about. That's the main thing that stands out. none of it looks like it comes natural to them, and they look like they're overthinking every decision so much, which often leads to them making the wrong decision. So it's a tricky one, but I think you have to go with that front three.
I get where you're coming from. I do. I'm going to disagree slightly. Okay. This is predictions as well, obviously. This isn't preferred. This is what we think the manager will go for, and we don't know. I'm going to go with Mason Mount, right? And the reason is because he spoke about Mount and he said he is fit enough to start, but we must manage him. So it's like, it depends on how you look at that. It's like he is fit enough to start, but he isn't going to, but we've got to be careful with him so he can start, but we might have to take him off. I think he might give him a start. He obviously started him, didn't he, at the Etihad? Yeah. But he got an injury almost straight away. He's spoken about Kobbie Mainoo as well, and I think there's a difference there. He said Kobbie, I think he's returning to training, so we'll see and assess him for the game already. Of course, he cannot play a full game. He has a long time without training. So I don't think Kobbie Mainoo, for example, will start. He might be on the bench. But someone like Mason Mount, I wonder whether he might go for him. And one of the reasons I think as well, with all this noise around Garnacho and everything about Garnacho, and I do like Garnacho, I do feel off the bench he offers you something.
Yeah.
And I do feel off the bench he offers you more than, say, Mason Mount would off the bench. And I just think, is it worth just going for it with Mount and then having that option of, if Mount does get knackered after an hour because he's barely played any football, or United are chasing it? We saw it under Erik ten Hag a couple of seasons ago where Alejandro Garnacho came on and completely changed the game. Yeah. And people forgot about that because this was the whole offside gate where you had Bruno and Marcus running alongside each other, and I think Bruno scored in the end, and it was like, oh, was he offside? Did Marcus put him off, put the goalkeeper off, and all the rest of it? Yeah. And people just ignored the fact that this teenager had come onto the pitch and for the last 20 minutes or whatever, 15 minutes, absolutely destroyed Manchester City.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that front three. I might be wrong.
I had forgot that Mount was available to start anyway, so I really don't have any problems with that.
No, I mean, it's easy done. It's not like Mason Mount's been playing that often.
He's been out for so long.
He had a little bit of a cameo, an extended cameo, shall we say, against Forest, but I do feel like with Mason Mount, we need to see something from him. I mean, he's got enough time this season to show us something.
Well, I think in the squad, he's one of the few players that you can say without doubt really fits those number 10 roles and actually kind of fits the system. Some of his best football in his career came under Thomas Tuchel, playing in a very similar role in a 3-4-3.
That's a good point.
So, and I think Amorim's kind of hinted at that a few times when talking about Mount. So, yeah, no problems with that. I'd like to see him start as well if he's ready.
Getting on to Manchester City, get involved in the chat and the comments. A big talking point this week is Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah. He's leaving Manchester City at the end of the season. Everyone's now waxing lyrical about him and arguing on social media about how good he is, and people saying he's the greatest Premier League midfielder of all time, which is just nonsense. He's not even the best red-haired midfielder in the Premier League era, so let's just get that straight. But he's obviously a very good player.
He's up there, isn't
and people are going to be commenting now saying he looks a bit like you, because that's what people do when it comes to you, Finn. Everyone thinks you look like everyone. De Bruyne, where would you rank him in the terms of the Premier League greats?
I think
we'll talk about midfielders.
He probably does go into the top 5 midfielders, maybe even top 3.
Yeah.
I think for me the undisputed one, and maybe there's a bit of bias here, but I'll always have Paul Scholes number 1. And then I think the rest is kind of a toss-up.
I like that. I think it's a good point. I mean, De Bruyne, people say he won 6. I think he's won 6 titles.
Yeah.
Which is only 5 less or 5 fewer than Paul Scholes. So it's very impressive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So winning only 5 fewer titles than Paul Scholes, you have got to be very good. That is,
top end.
pretty amazing. So we'll give Kevin De Bruyne credit. I would definitely put him above someone like Steven Gerrard, who hasn't won any. Yeah. Me and you've won as many as him.
Yeah.
So I think Kevin De Bruyne is up there. Listen, the biggest compliment I can pay Kevin De Bruyne is I've hated playing against him. I've hated when United played against him. I haven't played against him.
He's someone that you genuinely fear.
Yeah, where he's absolutely sold as a part a few times. Very good player, and I'll be glad to see the back of him. In terms of the City at the minute, Omar Mamouche is a player that's doing quite well, isn't he? He's come in, hit the ground running, and without Erling Haaland, he's a player that perhaps City will be looking at to do something.
Yeah, unfortunately, looks like a really good signing. Obviously, come in for big money, was amazing in the Bundesliga in the first half of the season. He's kind of hit the ground running and been really effective. His partnership with Haaland has been absolutely deadly, but obviously Haaland's now unavailable for this game, so he'll be the lone striker up top. Obviously less of a conventional out-and-out number 9, but still someone that can score you goals and cause a lot of threats, so we'll have to be careful and aware of him. Definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Erling Haaland's a fantastic footballer, unfortunately. But let's not kid ourselves that the injury to him is that's it. City are done.
Yeah.
Because they've got...
They're always going to have that.
Yeah, they've got other players who can step up and, you know, their system as well. It's not all reliant on Erling Haaland. They can adapt it. Under Pep Guardiola, I mean, they didn't even have a striker for most of the time they were
Some
playing
of
under
their most
Pep.
successful footballers without a striker.
Exactly. With all that being said then, give us your score prediction.
3-1 United.
I love that. Do you know what? I absolutely love it. I think, do you know, I love a good old-fashioned bit of delusion. That's what this channel...
That is not delusion. That is backed by science.
Science. Go on, sell it to me. Science.
We're Manchester United.
Do you know what? I can't argue with that. We are. That's factual. That is scientific. We are Manchester United.
Are they Manchester United?
No, they're not. Oh. There you go. So I'll agree with Finn then. I'll go 3-1 United. He's done me there. I was going to go for a City win, unfortunately, but I can't argue with science. We're Man United. They're not. So we're going to win 3-1. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know your score predictions. Don't forget as well to film yourself in landscape for 30 seconds with your score predictions and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. We have started reaching out to a few more people who've been sending us videos to get them here in the studio for the preview. Finn, always a pleasure, never a chore. Go and check him out, Academy Scoop. Plus, he'll be on the watch along, and then we'll have Academy Review next week as well. That's been Finn. I've been Jay. This has been a preview: Manchester United versus Manchester City, the Manchester Derby. Thanks for watching.